consider the possibility that your presence here in riot gear is the problem?
Let's go, let's go.
Has that crossed your mind? Is this an appropriate response?
About 2,000 people have been ordered to leave the Lake Hughes, Green Valley, and Lake Elizabeth areas.
You can see across the water from where we're standing here at Elizabeth Lake, there are structures burning at this hour. We can't tell if that's a home or some other kind of building.
This is a very small assembly of peaceful citizens expressing themselves in an expressive fashion, and I believe it will remain that. So there is absolutely no reason for you to be here, number one.
Welcome to the Fire Report. My name is Dwayne Risco. We're recording here in the beautiful Bat Studios in downtown Brunswick, Ohio. Today, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to see some outstanding videos that are going to open your eyes and hopefully let you sit back and say, wow, are we really here? Have we really come this far? Is this Orson Welles science fiction? What's going on in our society, around the globe? We hear all the talk about being watched, everything that we do, even everything that we say. After all, the internet, every single site that you have typed into is recorded. Every single email that you have sent has been recorded. Everything that has been sent to you on the internet is recorded. Ladies and gentlemen, every cell phone call that you have ever made, the time is recorded. And in many places, even the things that you've talked about is recorded. You say, how is all this possible? Ladies and gentlemen, technology has advanced so super fast. We've exploded in the past 20 years more than any time in history. But right now, I want to talk about a situation that is really frightening. But remember, folks, on the Fire Report, we're bringing you stuff that other news medias do not talk about or hardly ever mention it. You've got to search long and hard to find it. You'll find some of this information on the internet, but how many of you take the time to really look this stuff out, check it out to see if it's really true? You know, cameras today are a wonderful thing. Well, with cameras, we can look inside of volcanoes. Cameras, we can go deep down inside the earth, and we can look into where men couldn't go before. We can go way down inside the ocean in the depths that perhaps no one's ever been to, and through modern technology and cameras, we can surveillance the place. But now, because of this 9/11 incident and the Patriot Acts, your freedom, my freedom, are being sold under the hidden disguise of your protection. We need to protect you. We have to watch out for you. After all, we're looking out for you. We're making sure you and your family is safe. And by how? By putting cameras everywhere. How many of you even notice where the cameras are? On some of the upcoming videos, I'm going to walk inside a world that monitors everything you do, where you go, the time, the date, the place, and ladies and gentlemen, through modern technology, even microphones are now being able to pick up voices while you're doing your thing. I'm going to show you how cameras are on all the street corners. Why? We know they're on top of buildings. Drive through any major buildings and there's cameras on the corners, surveilling the parking lot. Why? For your protection, so no one blows us up, so you don't get raped, kidnapped, or robbed. After all, we know evil is everywhere. Evil never sleeps. Evil never takes a day off, nor a time out. It's continuously lurking. To a certain point, cameras are a good thing, especially for rapes and murders and violence and breaking into people and destroying communities, which they do in LA, Chicago, and Philadelphia, and South Miami. We know these things take place, so for the most part, some cameras are a good thing. But now, we've got them everywhere. On top of bridges, on all the red lights, on street corners, inside hallways, inside buildings, in the workplace. I wonder how long before someone finds a closet they can put them in the restrooms. Laugh all you want, but it wouldn't surprise me none whatsoever. You know, I'm going to show you a video down the road when I was astonished how cameras are even fitted into artificial pigeons. sit on top of wires and watch you. You drive down the road and you see pigeons flying and you don't pay attention to the pigeon sitting up in a corner. But it's a camera and it's watching you. I'm going to show you a video of a camera that could jump 15, 20 feet on top of a building. A little box with 4 wheels that can jump on a building, roll on a building. How does it come down? It jumps down. What's its purpose? To go view. Now remember, everything that you're about to see, and if you dispute any of these facts with people, they're going to tell you, if you're doing nothing wrong, what are you worried about? Hey, I don't like somebody watching my every single move, what I do. I don't want everybody to record everything I say. That's no freedom. My freedoms are being stripped away. People can edit things out, put words in there that aren't there, and it's your word against them. Our freedoms are being taken away. I'm going to show you some videos on cameras, how this is going, not only here in America, but globally. Well, one video that I'm going to show down the road is you're walking down the street, let's say in Chicago or downtown Cleveland, and there's a bunch of people on both sides, and you're sitting at a diner, perhaps you're eating, you're in a business luncheon, or you're meeting people, and the beautiful lampposts are microphones recording your conversation. Cameras making profiles of you, getting pictures of front, back, sideways, and shipping that information off to a center to be stored with your name. Know everything about you, where you come, where you go. It's a matter of time before the license plates have the chip that they can just shoot a beam and know everything about that person in that car. You're going to see some information that'll blow your mind. And ladies and gentlemen, also you're going to see about chemtrails. Stick around. I have some great videos on chemtrails that are going to blow your mind. Am I off my nut? Am I a wacko? Is Alex Jones crazy? Is Ernie Sanders off his nut? You know, the conspiracy theory rises again. Stick around firsthand and foremost as time goes on the Fire Report, you're going to see outstanding footage that you cannot deny. Also, folks, you are going to learn what artificial skies are for yourself, first and foremost. And on my shows, you're also, stick around, I got a great video that you're going to hear about supposedly they drilled a hole in Russia many miles down and they went into the center of hell. Hey, there is no God, there is no devil, there is no heaven, there is no hell. But listen for yourself on an Art Bell show how they had sounds of hell for yourself, and you can hear it for yourself. Folks, on my upcoming shows, you're going to learn about health, nutrition, microchips, cashless society. There's going to be so many different topics that ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, and even Fox will not report. But right here on the Fire Report, you're going to get some videos that you can sit back and blow your mind. From earth disasters to sinkholes to UFOs. I got some great stuff coming in. So please tell people about the Fire Report. You've got to watch it and check it out for yourself. Hey, my name is Dwayne Risco, and you've been watching the Fire Report in beautiful downtown Brunswick, Ohio, in Bat Studios.
Hello, YouTube. We are doing another public service announcement. We are concerned about the vast amount of cameras that keep getting built, like literally, I think just about every 2 blocks. And the city that we live in is literally in the top 10 cities in the country for safety. So are we safe because there's a camera on every corner, or is this for the eventual control grid and the control of the masses? Again, I'm not saying either way, I'm just posing a question. But we're going to drive around to a couple spots. This is the first camera, and then we're going to drive down the probably, I think, 2 blocks. And here's some more cameras. I mean, this is crazy. You know, I knew that they were putting cameras up, you know, for speeders on the highway, but this is, I never took the time to stop and notice how many cameras they've installed. We're in one of the supposed safest cities in America. Yeah. All right. Okay, we're going to take a pause and drive another 2 blocks. Here's 4 more cameras at this intersection. And these are probably, they're different cameras. I'm sure they're to capture high-speed drivers or something, but we didn't even need to stop the car because we ran into a whole other series of cameras, but we'll talk to you in about a second. Another 4 cameras, and these are these high-tech cameras. So again, we do nothing but question, because I remember my football coach used to always say, there's no such thing as a stupid question. So we're just asking, are these for safety precautions, or are these possibly for the lockdown, if the lockdown ever came? I mean, if they ever did lock down the system, they would definitely be able to know where we're at.
But why are there so many? I mean, this is like, we just filmed like 8 and we haven't even gone a quarter mile.
Yeah, well, exactly. So, all right, we'll see you in a minute. It's amazing to see these cameras, and there's like, this is the way every major city is in America, but yet not one of these cameras caught the supposed plane that flew into the Pentagon, or did they? And then they were confiscated by the government.
Big Brother's watching you.
All right, well, that's enough for now. We were going to do a short PSA, but this would probably take us 2 days just to record 1 mile worth of cameras. So see you on the flip side. Godspeed.
Freedom, 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 freedom.
Tonight on You Are Being Watched, the future of CCTV as smart cameras save lives. As surveillance cameras spread like wildfire, we reveal how they are now used to try and stop crime before it happens.
It's a mains voltage electricity, and he's there with a metal screwdriver.
How a new generation of clever cameras hear what you say and know how angry you are. Recognise you by simply watching you stroll down the street.
We then get a set of numbers, and those numbers appear to be unique. Then we say we can recognise you by the way you walk.
Catch pickpockets in the act. And trap kidnappers who prey on helpless women in the dead of night.
We have been able to take hundreds of very, very dangerous people off our streets as a result of CCTV evidence.
In North Wales, the underwater CCTV camera, which spotted the teenage girl silently drowning on the bottom of the leisure centre swimming pool in Bangor, has now sounded a full alert. The lifeguards are now aware, for the first time, of what's going on in the water below them.
The Poseidon screen is right next to the shallowing chair where I was sitting. Obviously the alarm sounded, the lights flashed. Drew my attention, looked at the screen. There's a little square red box around whatever is the casualty, or wherever the casualty is, and you could just tell it was a body at the bottom.
The girl on the bottom hasn't got long. She isn't struggling to get to the surface because she's silently drowning. A rare condition which means there is nothing to alert the guards that someone's in trouble. As the alarm sounds, another lifesaver is already in the water.
It was a summer holidays, so we were really busy. Everything's going through your mind at once, everything. Do your routine, the whistle, the shout of the lifeguards, and just go in to get her. You just don't think about anything else, it's just getting the little girl out. Trying to get her back up to the top was a bit of a struggle because she's so heavy. It's not like you get trained for, I don't think. You get trained with a dummy, and it's just nothing like what it is in real life. She was just like limp in my arm. I thought, that's it. Got her to the side, and then as soon as I got her to the surface, got her out together and gave her first aid.
The underwater camera cost £65,000. One of a new generation of smart CCTV, which is transforming the way Britain responds to emergencies.
Usually you get a struggle when somebody's taking in so much water. You'll shout at their arms, they try and struggle through it. Silent drowning is more when they don't struggle at all and they just kind of sink.
Can't watch all the pool all the time. With this system in the background, just helps the lifeguard to do their job. The system is very expensive, but you know, you can't put a price on a life.
Really proud to save her, very proud to save her. Just so glad that she's okay.
Over the last 10 years, Britain has become the most watched place on the planet. There isn't a city or town without some sort of CCTV. Today, there are many who believe that CCTV ranks alongside the great crime breakthroughs which have led hundreds of thousands of criminals to jail.
Without doubt, I think it is one of the most important developments in police investigation that we've had. I think it is equally important as DNA or fingerprints.
When suicide bombers hit London in 2005, CCTV was once again at the forefront of the scramble to catch those responsible. This time, it was the CCTV system watching the railways which produced sinister images of July the 7th suicide bombers launching their deadly mission. In 1999, CCTV was the crucial police tool when a nail bomber started targeting minorities in London. 2 huge explosions, each one on a Saturday afternoon. The first in Brixton, the next in Brick Lane. 45 people were injured, including 2 children. The injuries were horrific. There were no eyewitnesses, no suspects, and every chance of a third nail bomb on the following Saturday. The police turned to CCTV and, for the first time, used it differently. Instead of searching for faces on the tapes, they looked for an object.
From a scene of one of the early bombings, they recovered a fragment of a sports bag. They then started to trawl through hundreds of hours of CCTV, and they found somebody carrying a sports bag before the bomb, and that individual not carrying a sports bag after the bomb. And from that, they were able to build up a picture of this particular individual. When they had another incident, they identified the same individual following hundreds of hours of observations, going to the scene with a bag and coming away from the scene without a bag.
With time running out and another Saturday looming, the detectives decided on another unique step, to go public and release the CCTV pictures of the man with the bag.
At that stage, they didn't know who the individual was, and following further investigation, they managed to get a decent picture that they could put out to the media. And within a matter of hours, we had an identification.
The man's name was David Copeland. Unfortunately, he saw the publicity too and changed his plans.
2 people died tonight when a nail bomb ripped through a packed pub in central London.
On Friday evening, Copeland bombed the Admiral Duncan, a pub in the heart of London's gay community. Within hours of the third explosion, the nail bomber was arrested at a bedsit in Hampshire. The CCTV footage helped convict and sent him to jail for life.
What price do you put on arresting and stopping his campaign of nail bombing and his avowed intention to start a race war? How do you put a value on that?
Amongst the survivors of Copeland's last bomb was the barman of the Admiral Duncan, David Morley, hailed a hero for the way he helped the dying and injured, despite being caught in the full force of the blast.
I don't actually remember the sound of the bomb going off, I just remember everything going like a sandy grey colour. And just standing there thinking, do I live, do I die? And then saying to myself, I'm going to live.
David Morley lived for only 5 more years. In 2004, he was kicked to death, here on the banks of the Thames. His death wasn't caught on camera, but his murder became another milestone in the use of CCTV. Footage from elsewhere was used for the first time to identify and convict his killers. After Morley was attacked and left for dead, A man asleep in a South London doorway was brutally set upon by a gang of youths. He survived, but the CCTV footage was not clear enough to identify the men who attacked him. But it did provide an unusual breakthrough for the detectives investigating David Morley's murder.
Dave was attacked on a Friday night going into Saturday morning, actually very early hours of Saturday morning. At the start of the investigation, one officer, often more, will be allocated to view the tapes. Many hundreds of hours of footage, and he can't afford to look away, because if he looks away once, and that is the moment the suspects walk past the camera, that moment's gone.
The problem for Inspector Scola and his team was the lack of footage from the Morley murder scene. But very quickly, when they viewed the tape of the attack on the man in the doorway and other footage from CCTV cameras nearby, more attacks emerged, and with them, a gang of suspects.
As the investigation progressed, we identified there had been a series of 5 attacks. The first attack was much earlier than the last 4, and initially we weren't certain that that attack had been carried out by the same group that killed David. However, the first attack was, whilst the whole attack wasn't seen on CCTV, you could see the group immediately before they carried out that attack, walking quite a menacing way spread across the road. You could clearly see there were 6 people in that group. If you looked closely, you could see the marks on the clothing from the group immediately prior to the first attack were identical to the marks on the clothing of this group.
Meet Google, the noun that became a verb, the world's favourite search engine, the company whose motto is "Don't be evil." Google processes 1 billion web searches every day using 450,000 servers. But it's more than just a search engine. Intel CEO Andy Grove calls Google, which has a market value of $200 billion US, a company on steroids with a finger in every industry. Google has acquired 30 other companies in the last 9 years and patented 187 products. Last year, it launched a venture capital arm to invest in software, clean tech, biotech, healthcare, and no doubt other areas we haven't thought of yet. Here's a few of the things Google wants to own: your phone, your email, your computer, and your entire digital life. Whatever you want to do online, Google wants to be your one-stop shop. It also wants to own the cables that deliver the internet itself and the electricity to power them. Google also wants to provide your entertainment and your news. It wants to build the largest library ever. This project is currently the subject of a class action lawsuit brought by publishers and authors. And it wants to know where everything is, from your front lawn all the way to Mars. Google wants to track you, storing records of everything you look at online for 18 months. It also wants access to your health records and your DNA, with 2 of its early investments in genetic testing companies. Google wants to follow your friendships. Social media platform Google Buzz was engulfed in complaints last month over alleged privacy breaches. It is now the subject of another class action lawsuit. And it's not the first time that privacy has been an issue. Google Maps and Google Earth have been criticised for including photos of naked kids, people vomiting, and leaving sex shops. 2 months ago, Google CEO Eric Schmidt said of privacy concerns, "If you have something you don't want anyone to know, maybe you shouldn't be doing it in the first place." Why does Google want to know so much about you? As Schmidt says, we are in the advertising business. 97% of its revenue comes from ads. Google wants to know who you are, where you are, and what you like, so it can target ads at you. Google, building an empire on your street, on your phone, in your DNA, trying very hard not to be evil.
a strange substance found by a Southwest Arkansas man be part of a government test? Well, that's the question at the heart of a phenomenon called chemtrails, now getting widespread attention. Well, tonight, KSLA News 12 investigation reporter Jeff Farrell shows us the results of testing we had done about what's in our skies.
It seemed like some mornings it was just crisscrossing the whole sky. It was just like a giant checkerboard.
Bill Nichols snapped several photos of the strange clouds from his home in Stamps, Arkansas. They begin as normal contrails from a jet engine, but do not fade away like a normal contrail. Soon after, he saw particles in the air.
You know, because we'd see it drop to the ground in a haze.
Nichols then noticed the material collecting on the ground.
This is water and stuff that I collected in bowls. I had it set out in my backyard on my dad's pickup truck.
KSLA News 12 had the sample tested at a lab. The results? A high level of barium, 6.8 parts per million, more than 3 times the toxic level set by the EPA.
Armed with these lab results about the high levels of barium found in our sample, we decided to contact the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality. They told us that yes, these levels are very unusual, but at the same time they added the caveat that proving the source is a whole nother matter.
Barium is a hallmark of other chemtrail testing, which even attracted attention from a Los Angeles TV station. There's already no shortage of unclassified weather modification programs by the government. But those who fear chemtrails could be secret biological or chemical testing on the public point to the 1977 Senate hearings in particular, which confirmed 239 populated areas had been contaminated with biological agents between 1949 and 1969. Later, the 1994 Rockefeller Report concluded hundreds of thousands of military personnel were also subjected to secret biological experiments over the last 60 years. But could secret testing be underway yet again?
I'd rather it be something inert and benign, you know, something that's, you know, not causing any damage, but I'd like to know what it is.
KSLA News 12 discovered chemtrails are even mentioned by name in the initial draft of House Bill 2977 back in 2001 under the Space Preservation Act. But the military denies any such program exists. Jeff Farrell, KSLA News 12 reporting.
And, you know, it turns out until 9 years ago, the government had the right under U.S. law to conduct secret testing on the American public under specific conditions. Only a public outcry repealed part of that law, with some exceptions.
And Joyce Riley, and the subject is going to be the purpose of chemtrail aerosol. A.C. Griffith was associated with the National Security Agency. He carried a top-secret clearance, a cryptographic clearance, and in more recent times he was associated with the Central Intelligence Agency operations. He was married to a lady lawyer, judge, and his father-in-law was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Virginia. He is with us today, and we want to say thank you very much, A.C. Griffith, for joining us to talk about the purpose of chemtrail aerosol. Thank you, sir, for joining us in the Power Hour today.
Thank you, Joyce. It's indeed a pleasure to be with you today.
Let's talk just as much as you want to talk about what your past experience was all about, sir.
I spent a couple days making talking points to make a guide map of how to present this to you. It is such a big topic. It's very difficult to know where to grab it to begin. Several years ago, I got a telephone call from Mike Blair at the Spotlight newspaper in Washington, now called the American Free Press. He asked me to help work with him on the story of the white trails coming out of the airplanes. And time is going by. I guess that was 8 or 9 years ago. We actually got inside the program. We're the only people in the world that actually got inside of that program.
When you say you got inside that program,
the aerosol program, the chemtrail program.
You're talking about information on the inside of this program.
I'm talking about actually getting inside the program at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base where it's being managed.
Wow.
And we actually got into some of the people that were dissatisfied from within the program, and they divulged a lot of the acronyms and the purpose of the program and so on. And that's the only way that anybody could ever have broken the secrecy of this program.
Okay.
We know that people have died over this program. People have been hit to keep them quiet. and we know that other things have happened to key people in this program. One of the key people that designed the aerosol, the barium salt aerosol, was set up by people in the Reagan administration, and he's now sitting in federal penitentiary. They still go to him to ask him questions, but yet he is in the prison. That is a little unnerving, isn't it?
Yes, it is, absolutely.
That the man that designed the barium salt aerosol is sitting in a prison. The white trail is not coming out of the engines, it's coming out of aerosol units on the aircraft. In the very beginning, the early days, the aircraft were flying relatively low, 10,000 feet or below, and they were developing the program. They were mostly contract aircraft, mostly CIA aircraft. Now the program has been expanded, and commercial airliners have been outfitted with aerosol units that are controlled through computer systems and satellites to dispense a barium salt mixture. It's a mixture of barium salt, not coming out of the engine, it's coming out of aerosols. And we have checked on information. We do confirm that the name of the project is Project Cloverleaf in the aircraft industry. It is very secretive. It is the most secretive thing I have ever encountered. People have died over this, talking about it. I listened to your broadcast just a few minutes ago. The general was on saying that he is very patriotic and he feels compelled to speak out, and that's exactly the same way I feel. I am very patriotic. I was born before the Second World War. I'm an old guy, and I come from that generation and that mindset. This is my country, and I see my country being dissolved. My country is being destroyed right in front of my eyes, and the people are being hurt, and that's why I consented to be on your radio program today. I know you will remember that you've asked me many times to do this, and I've been very reluctant, but it's time. It's time to speak out and go public with these things.
Well, that is correct. I have asked AC to be on this program many, many times, and you do this, I think, with a considerable amount of risk to your own life, do you not?
Yes, that's right.
So there are people who have lost their lives, people who are now in prison as a result of divulging this information.
The problem with chemtrails is that when we attempt to geoengineer and interfere with complex, interrelated atmospheric processes, we are in for unintended consequences on a major scale.
About a conspiracy called chemtrails.
These are literally crimes against humanity. Nature and humanity.
Over Skype, I spoke with chemtrail researcher Michael Murphy at his home in California. He produced a documentary about the so-called chemtrail cover-up. He believes there are chemicals in these trails, including aluminum, that are making us sick.
We've seen aluminum-related illness go through the roof.
Murphy says tests show high levels of these chemicals in our rain and soil.
So we're seeing a major increase in these chemicals, but how do we know they are coming from planes?
We looked into any other source and we couldn't find one.
So how can you tell the difference between chemtrails and typical plane contrails?
A contrail dissipates and evaporates pretty quickly. A chemtrail lingers.
But these things expand, they grow bigger, and before you know it, the entire sky is overcast.
That's correct.
Why do they want to keep this quiet? Why aren't they talking about this? Why don't they want us talking about it? And you can only come to the conclusion that they're hiding something.
Now, do you believe that this is a full-scale secret operation that includes not only the U.S. but Europe and the rest of the world?
Well, that's apparent because you can see the pictures from all over the world, and I get them constantly. Some areas are worse than others.
H.R. 2977, an actual federal document, an actual federal bill admitting that they're spraying chemical and biological weapons on us through the use of something called chemical trails that they're adding to jet fuel, especially in military aircraft.
I recently discovered that most of Britain was sprayed in biological weapons trials between 1940 and 1979. Are the chemtrails being sprayed over Britain at the moment a continuation of these experiments, or are they part of the New World Order's population reduction plan, as they are now being reported?
clean copy of it now, and I warn you, this could scare you. Here's the email. Dear Art Bell, I just recently began listening to your radio show and could not believe it when you talked about the sounds from hell tonight. My uncle had told me this story a couple of years ago, and I didn't believe him. Like one of your listeners who discounted the story as nothing more than just a religious newspaper fabricated account. The story about the digging, the hearing of the sounds from hell is very real. It did occur in Siberia. My uncle collected videos, so forth, on the paranormal, supernatural. He passed away fairly recently, but he would have loved your show. He let me listen to one of the audio tapes that he had on the sounds from hell in Siberia, and I copied it. He received his copy from a friend who worked at the BBC. It took me a while to find it tonight, but attached is that sound from my uncle's tapes. It's not the greatest quality, but the sounds are there. I was very hesitant to send you this, as the sound bothers me to listen to. I'd suggest that if you do play it on the program, warn listeners in advance so they may have the option of turning the radio off for 30 seconds while it plays. It has always haunted me. To those who discounted the Siberia sounds from hell story, it is true, and I, for one, wish it wasn't. Rick, listening from Chicago. And so I submit now the cleaned, a better copy to you, and I warn you, what you are about to hear is very disturbing indeed.
Lie to the American people about the chemical attacks in Syria. The American people know that it was our government that is most likely responsible. There is strong evidence, including video, that these attacks were carried out by Al-Qaeda, and you advocate starting a war, even maybe world war. President Barack Hussein Obama has been supporting terrorism. The United States has been funding and aiding its organizations, including the Muslim Brotherhood and Al-Qaeda, for many years now. The same enemy we're supposed to be defeating on the battlefield. At least one country in this world stood up against this government terrorism that you guys support in Egypt. The people of Egypt throughout Mohammed Morsi, which Obama supported as well, as countless Christians have lost their lives under evil people such as this. You swore an oath to protect us and protect from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. The simple irony is the domestic enemy now in this country is the people and government of the United States. And McCain and you and the rest of our leaders are accountable for their actions. Because if I was in a position of power or authority, I would have you all arrested and tried for treason against my country under the grounds of 18 U.S.C. 2381 Treason U.S. Code. Whoever owing allegiance to the United States levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason. That is the code. The American people are sick of it. This country rose up against you recently. The ratio, hang on, I have a right of free speech. I can finish.